Hey everyone, and welcome to our channel. I'm Kayla, and today we are going to be doing another it's only me. Anyway, today we are going to be doing another book review, finally. The last book review we did was like way back in December when we reviewed Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, so make sure to go check that out. But today we're not going to be doing that book again. We're going to be doing Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Just a quick warning before we get into the rest of the video, there will be spoilers for both the book and the movie, although I guess that if you've seen the movie, you know what happens in the book, and if you read the book, you know what happens in the movie. Just spoilers, okay? So, a little bit of background on this book. The back just reads, living in poverty, their father gone to war, the March girls have only their mother and themselves, little women. Meg's romantic, energetic, ready to start a family of her own. Beth's introspective, peaceful, afraid of everything except her dolls and music. Amy's beautiful, artistic, determined to live among the rich and famous. Joe's arrogant, hot-tempered, funny, a writer who keeps pet rats and detests being a girl. They love each other, hate each other, fight with, scold, nag, tease, and protect each other through days of joyous triumph and dark tragedy. For each girl in her heart knows she has something more precious than money. Sisters. So, my take on this book was that it was really good. It's hard for me to judge it because I saw the movie first, the 2019 version of it. That's the one that I saw in theaters, which that movie was really good. I love it. So I have 10 questions from a website that I found on the internet that I'm going to read you, and I'm going to answer them just like any other book review. So the first one reads, do you think the traditional Little Women roles celebrated in Louisa May Alcott's classic are outdated in today's society? What ideals do you believe are timeless? The roles that she portrays, I don't think they're outdated. I just think that they've changed a little bit. So there's still the idea of male dominance, no matter how much we would like to believe that the world has achieved equality for all peoples. As much as I would like to believe that myself, not quite. However, I don't think it's as strictly written as, women in the kitchen, men everywhere else. It's not that strict. People have expanded their minds, and as far as I know, it's better, but it's not, completely equality for all. What ideals do I believe are timeless? I don't know. All the classics. Honesty, love, equality, those sorts of things. Like, love for everybody, those sorts of things will last through time, hopefully. Or at least I would like to think so. Question 2. What character traits do you feel the sisters learned from Marmee, Mr. March? From their mother, probably, I don't know, maybe patience. But I think a lot of that, especially for Beth and maybe for Meg, I think patience was one of the things that they were inborn with, something that they just kind of had. Joe and Amy, probably not so much, but that's something, patience especially, is something you learn, as far as I know. From their father, probably intellect. I don't know if these are character traits, but I think they are. Because their father seemed to be such a philosophical person when he was present in the story, that seems like something they would learn from him. Intelligence and the ability to ask questions. I don't know how much of it. I believe that was mostly centered in Joe, although, like I said, intellect. I don't think these are necessarily things that they got from their parents, but more their parents helped them to grow. Question 3. In what ways did Mr. March's absence shape the girls' behaviors and aspirations? Do you draw similar inspiration from anyone in your life? I don't know if this is my opinion, but I read in the back of this book that Mr. March's absence, maybe not specifically that, but the lack of just a male, part of the family, kind of allowed the girls to live free from male dominance because there weren't any guys. So they really got to come into their own and not feel like they're being oppressed by them, or that's what I got from the back of the book, what it said. I don't know what I would have inferred from just reading the book. I probably wouldn't have noticed unless you pointed it out to me, because I don't think I would have noticed that there wasn't Like, yeah, I don't think I would have noticed that unless the book pointed it out to me like it did. Do I draw similar inspiration from anyone in my life? Probably my mother and my father. I mean, like, that's, and even my sister, like, I take my leads from them. So if I'm not sure what to do, I look at my mom, and that's where I do it. That's where I get my answers. Question 4. Who is your favorite character in Little Women, and why? Which character do you most identify with, and why? This first question is the hardest one, and if you go read my book review of this book, written down below at my Goodreads account, I even say there, I don't know who my favorite character is. They're all so different. I mean, I would probably, especially from the movie, when I watched the movie, it was easier for me to say which was my favorite character, which then it was Lori. But, you know, reading the book, you get different perspectives. You dive deeper into a character. Which character do I most identify with? I've thought this over, like which one I think is the most like me, or I'm the most like. I honest to goodness don't know. I don't think it's Meg. I don't think I'm like Meg, but I don't think that I'm like Meg or Beth, because I don't. See, I'm really struggling with this. I don't know. I would honestly probably say it's a tie between Jo and Amy. Yeah, I don't know. 6. Although the narrator is able to offer insight... it's shutting off. Although the narrator is able to offer insight from each of the main characters, Jo's voice rings above the others throughout the pages. How do you think the novel would differ if a sister other than Jo was the central character? Well, I mean, obviously the tables would kind of turn. You would see it from their perspective. I do think you would get to see the difference in behavior in the rest of the characters towards them, which is kind of an obvious answer. But like for Amy, if you saw the whole thing from Amy's perspective, you would see the, you know, the change in people's attitudes towards her as she grew up, how their behavior towards her changed as she went from a 12-year-old to, you know, a 20-something-year-old. Versus Meg, you would see more of her home life than just the smaller chapters. You know, you would get to see little pockets of the book, of their story, that isn't showed. Although, it doesn't necessarily meld them all together all of the time, but it does go through each sister. It's not like it's solely centered on Jo. Question 7. When Jo takes Beth to the seashore for one last visit before the younger sister dies, Beth compares each of the 4 March sisters to birds. Jo is strong and untamed like a gull. Meg is a turtle dove, which represents love. Amy is a beautiful and lively lark, while she herself is a peep, a bird that stays close to the shore. Do you think Beth's comparisons were accurate? If you compared yourself to a bird, which species would you be? I think Beth was pretty accurate. I mean, just because a bird stays close to home doesn't mean that they are, you know, a perfectly tame little animal, just like Beth. You know, just because she stays home doesn't mean that she's any less important than a gull or a turtle dove or whatever. You know what I mean? I've been asked the same question before, but with trees. And I'm going to say the same thing. I'm not familiar with bird types. I don't know that very many. But I can't really well answer that question, so I'm just not going to. 8. Were you disappointed that Jo did not marry Lori, or do you think Professor Barr was better suited for her? Why? This question I also can't really answer because I saw the movie before I read the book. I don't know. I will say though, I think that is a nice twist that Louisa May Alcott put in there because it's expected. He even says that. Lori even says that. Everybody in the book expects them to get married. So what does Alcott do? She doesn't let them get married. But I like her reason. She doesn't just have Jo say no. She has a reason. They're both very strong-minded. And so they'll just butt heads all the time. And I think that was a good reason. Mr. Barr, or Professor Barr, was kind of just, when I saw the movie, there's a dude that came in at the last minute that just, apparently they got married. I don't really know. I mean, reading the book, he did seem like a good person, but from the movie perspective, it's like, it's just this random dude who apparently she worked with, and now they're getting married. But I guess from a screenwriter's perspective, you would assume that like 75% of the people going to see this movie would have already read the book, because that's where most of its publicity is going to come from. So you kind of have a little bit of leeway, but being a person who hadn't read the book at the time, just like, oh look, there's this person. Oh, they're getting married now. Well, okay then. 9. The complexities of sibling relationships, a jumble of childhood games, petty squabbles, family traditions, deep frustrations, and fierce loyalty play out on every page of the novel. What moments best or most precisely illustrate the bonds between sisters? I have to go back and remember. Probably when Amy came back married to Laurie. That probably did it. That was probably a really good show of sisterly bond. Or like when Amy kept getting the things that Jo wanted, like when she went to Europe. If it was a best friend or even just a regular friend, that could spoil a relationship. Jealousy could spoil a relationship. But the sisterly bond probably is part of the reason. And love, you know, that helps too. Question 10 and the final question. What scenes from Little Women linger in your mind long after you have closed the book? So, I said this before, I'll say it again. The scenes from the movie are imprinted in my mind way more than the ones from the book, so I'll just go over those. One that really sticks with me is the one where I'd say hi, bye. So like there's this one where Amy I think she gets hit by her teacher on her hand, and she like comes to the Lawrence's house, I can't talk. Lawrence's house like wailing, and then her whole family like comes in and leaves like a storm. Like that sticks with me. One thing I do remember from the book that's kind of sticking out to me is like the family happiness. Like when Professor Barr was doing the whole I'm gonna pretend like there's business but really I'm just here to see Jo. When he was doing that thing, like the family, just the whole family aspect of it, like how their family dynamic, how happy they were. And even in the movie too, like how it was just one giant party with all the girls' family and their, you know, their own families, and then the marches, and it's just this one giant happy family. Another one of my favorite scenes from the movie is when Professor Barr leaves, and they all just sort of staring at Jo like, how have you not picked up on this yet? All of us have. Just that whole thing before they leave the house, even when they leave the house, like at the end, it's great. All in all, I really did enjoy this book. Again, it's hard for me to really criticize it because I saw the movie first. However, that didn't stop me from enjoying it. It's great in both art forms. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend that you do. And if you have seen the movie but haven't read the book, I highly recommend that you read the book. That's why I'm doing this video, and to tell you my opinion. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to click the like button. And if you want to see more book reviews or any more of our videos, our meaning Emma, that person that just stopped by, please make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon next to it. That will notify you, supposedly, I don't know if it actually does, every time that we upload a new video, which will hopefully be soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time!